Hey everybody, it's Mark, Dr. Deadwax. It's time for the Inbox Challenge 2, Day 29, the penultimate edition. Today's numbers were picked by BarakaPDub. Don't think they make videos, but they have been a commenter and a subscriber of mine for at least a year, maybe two. So thanks for being out there and interacting. It's always appreciated. They picked 4 numbers, and then they changed their mind, and they picked 3. So I did 5, because I'm crazy. Today it is Founder's Breakfast Stout. This is a double chocolate coffee oatmeal stout, and this is one of the best beers in the world. Phenomenal beer. Phenomenal. Yeah, let's do it. First up, the first 3 are theirs, the last 2 are mine. Pollution. This is a band that are kind of psychedelic folk and soul. They have Dobie Gray on vocals, who I think was a soul singer and was involved with like Ramsey Lewis, and they have Tata, I can't remember her last name, but she's also on vocals. And they did 2 albums in the early 70s. And I've shown this record before. It's on Prophecy. And it has MR and the Dead Wax in a circle, which stands for Monarch Records. And as you can see, even though it's on the Prophecy label, the label code on the bottom has MO at the end, which stands for Monarch in the Atlantic nomenclature. So this was distributed on Atco, which is a Atlantic imprint. So while it's on Prophecy, it's distributed by Atco, and the MO on those labels stands for Monarch. And that's where the record was cut and made. Now, the reason why I showed this record before, and I'm showing it again, is when I showed it before, I couldn't play it because it had a really weird warp. It had like a dimple warp. It was about that big, and it kind of was an impression in one spot of the record and a rise on the other. So it was basically, you could only play like a couple songs on the record. I can't remember if you could play if it was the first song you play on each side, or if it was the last song you play on each side. So took it to a friend of mine who has a vinyl flattening machine, like one of these $2,500 deals, and or $2,000, whatever the hell they are. Not a vinyl flat, but like one of the Furatech ones, and put it in there for 4 hours, and took it out, and it's nice and flat now. But whatever damaged the record before has left permanent sonic damage to the record now. It plays fine, but it's a little off as the needle's tracking around the record. The head shell moves a little left and right, so it's not quite perfectly round anymore from whatever the dimple was, and there's a sonic noise as it on one side as it goes through the area where the dimple was. So whatever caused that original issue in the first place left permanent damage. So I want to look for another copy of this record, but you know, I was able to play it through and listen to it, and actually it's a lot of fun. I love the cover too, with the little chick in the gas mask, and this is the inside of the gatefold. It's a unipack, and this is, I don't know if it's typical 70s fare, because it kind of, it's not just psych folk. It had, you know, Dobie Gray was a soul singer, so it has a little bit, it's more genre crossing in some ways. It's actually quite good. I really liked it. It's quite a fun record. And they did a second record which was called Pollution 2, Roman numerals. So I want to find both of them. And yeah, They were managed by the son on Beverly Hillbillies, according to Wikipedia. Jethro? Next up is the Butterfield Blues Band. Sometimes I just feel like smiling. This is, I thought this was the first pressing when I bought it because nice textured cover, you know, the whole deal. But according to Discogs, this is like a later imprint, although I don't see how, but it is. But I really don't see how, because the label's really simple in the information that's detailed on it, with the Elektra Records, 15 Columbus Circle, New York. Camera is just shit lately. New York City. So I don't know what is going on there with that. Let's see if we can get this to focus. There. So in the dead wax there, upside down, you can see sterling, and then it's not really all that visible. There it is. You could, actually, right side up, you can see sterling, and then LH at 6 o'clock. And that is for the mastering engineer Lee Hulko, who was very good at his job. One of the greats. I really like Lee's work. I don't think he gets enough credit. So because the label's so plain, I mean, Discogs has an Elektra 4000 series, which of course makes sense that that's earlier than this because this is an Elektra 7000 series. But the 4000 series one has all kinds of, this record is copyright and property, blah, 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 the whole way around the rim. Whereas this, like, earlier, simpler labels just has the address. So I'm not sure quite what's going on. I really like this record. Apparently I'm not supposed to. But the sleeve has a copy of the first cover. I love this butterfly. They like the butterfly. And then on the back of the sleeve, there's like an interview with with Paul Butterfield, and it talks about the history, his history. This is the last Paul Butterfield record. Nobody on this record is from any of the early records. He's the only one left, all new guys. I liked it. It's kind of jazzy and kind of soul, yet still blues rock. It's maybe even a little horn rock. Yeah. I liked it. I really like side 2. Train Man was a great song. And Blind Leading the Blind. Great stuff. Next is another ECM. Well, there's like a million of these, eh? It's like I could do 30 days of ECM records out of the inbox. Ralph Towner solo concert. So this is just Towner plucking the strings on his own on stage. Look at him there. He's playing 2 guitars at once. One with each hand. He's amazing. This is a U.S. pressing. Warner Wakefield in the dead wax. Oh, wait for it. Rob likes when I get it to flashlight. So this is a Warner Wakefield. So this is, oh, it's not Quiax. There's the second of the only 2 Warner Wakefields I've ever seen that were not Quiax have shown up in the inbox challenge. So this is just Towner on his own, playing guitar, and it's just fantastic. Towner's just a brilliant guitar. So recorded in 1979, the record was released in 1980. So again, this is another 1980 pressing from Warner Wakefield. So I'll have to pay closer attention, but I think maybe 1981 or 82 is when all of the Quiax pressings start coming out of Warner Wakefield. Or maybe later I'll have to go a little crazy trying to figure that one out. Ralph Tanner on 12-string and classical guitars. This is a great record. This is just a world-class guitar player doing his thing live. You know, in the avant ECM style on an acoustic and a classical guitar. I highly recommend it, especially if you're a fan of Towner or ECM. Next is Possum Head. Warner Wakefield and the Deadwax. That's that W, that two W's that back each other like this. They're kind of, anyway, I've shown it before. Possum Head, Lou Donaldson. This is on Cadet. I bought this off eBay a long time ago. Just got around to playing it now. Look at this. It's an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous looking copy that sounds like total shit. Actually, I had to take it off the turntable. It was unlistenable. It has a an almost electronic squeal. So I'm not sure if it's a pressing, and it's intermittent. It's like, it just plays and then all of a sudden it's like, it's like a little like radio signal or something like that. I've heard that on, I hear that a lot on new records where they're just really poorly pressed. So I'm wondering if this is a pressing issue. Anyways, I'm really bummed about this because a little bit of this I heard was fantastic, and this is first pressing. You know, this crap. So I didn't get to hear that. So I have a friend who's got like a really high-end system, and he's got 3 turntables with 7 arms on the 3 turntables, and the cartridges on it range from like a $200 SAE moving coil all the way up to like a $12,000 or $14,000 cart. So all kinds of different profiled styluses for different kinds of records, different sounds of records, different qualities of pressings. I'm going to bring that up there and just kind of move it around between the 3 tables and see if it's a product of the profile of the stylus I'm using on this cartridge, because all of the different profiles on his will allow me to figure out if it's the record, and if it's there on all of them, then the record's just total junk. But sometimes with records, depending on what they were played with before, you can have a record that sounds like shit on your stylus, and people could say, oh, it's really clicky and it has it's really noisy, and then you can play that on a record, on a cartridge with a different diamond, different size diamond, different profile of the diamond, and what actually happens is that rides in a different part of the groove, because the groove's cut like a V, and it'll make contact with the wall at different locations in the V, and it might sound actually perfectly fine. Like, I have records that on some cartridges a scratch ticks, and on other cartridges a scratch doesn't tick. So, you know, that it's because the diamond is riding lower than the scratch, the depth of the scratch. So, and the profile makes a difference too. So, because diamonds can be spherical, which is like a circular profile, or they can be like diamond cut, or cut like this. Like, they can be cut all kinds of different ways. So, and it changes the way they interact with the wall of the groove and the way they pick up sound. So I'm going to try that on all the different things he has and see if that, because it's in the same, it's right in the very beginning of the record. I can try it on while I'm just rambling. And finally, Cash, American Recordings. This friend of mine, he gave this to me. This was $32, $33 apparently. I was up there one night and he gave me just a stack of records. He said, take all these with you, they sound like shit. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll suffer through them at home. And this was one of them, Kate Bush, a whole bunch of stuff. This, I'm pretty sure, is a 2006 UK pressing released by Rhino. And I get that from the production code at the bottom of the label there. At the very bottom, so. And that's like, it's way too small for my eyes to read right now. So, it's not an original, it's a reissue. He was really unhappy with the way it sounded. One of the big drawbacks to a system like my friend's is it's one of the most revealing systems I've heard ever, and it just reveals sometimes too much. And that's the beauty of maybe a little bit lower end system, is you can enjoy this, because this sounded great. I really enjoyed this. It's Johnny Cash. He's in a room with a guitar. He's old. The guitar's questionably tuned at times. So is his voice, but it's full of emotion and passion, and so who gives a shit? Like, you know, it's like Bruce Springsteen's in Nebraska. He recorded that in his living room. It's terrible and brilliant and wonderful and glorious and everything all at the same time, you know, but it certainly isn't an audiophile's wet dream of a record. So, and neither is this, but it's a great record and great songs on it. I really enjoyed his cover of Bird on Wire. And there's a Tom Waits song on here that Tom wrote for him, which is, anyways, this whole thing is just great. Yeah, I'm pretty sure also that's what this Back to Vinyl Classic Cash album on 180 gram LP means. Good pressing, clean, quiet. UK, I guess that's part of the reason. I looked this up on Discogs to try and figure out what the hell version of it was, and apparently this gets between 50 and 100 bucks. Like the cheapest one was $54. I mean, I know it doesn't sell for that. It probably sells on eBay for 25 bucks, but that's not bad for a free record. I can highly recommend this. This is what Johnny was great at. Him and a guitar. I mean, all of his music's kind of fun and kitschy at times and nostalgic and of its day, but this stripped down man and his guitar is where he really shone. It wasn't twangy. It's almost folk as opposed to country. Yeah, it is folk as opposed to country. What the hell am I saying? Lou Donaldson, Possum Head. Can't really talk about the record. I didn't hear it. This is great. Wow. Towner's just brilliant. I really like this. This is a good record. I don't know. It's his last record. Nobody's always talking about his early stuff. This is alright. Maybe if I heard the early stuff first, or I was from that age, I'd hate this, but coming at it from where I am now, I have one other Paul Butterfield record, maybe. Like, I'm totally a neophyte when it comes to blues and blues rock. So, and Pollution. It's fun. It's good. Wow, that was 20 minutes. I spent far too much time talking about the profiles of diamonds. I apologize. So tomorrow's the last day of the Inbox Challenge too. Looks like I'm going to make it. Have a great day, everybody. Keep the record spinning.